Rice for 15 people does not fit in a normal pot. It fits in something closer to a cauldron. And in one house outside Fukuoka, that cauldron goes on the stove before the sun is up. Nobody in this family has ever opened a bag of frozen gyoza or torn the plastic off an instant curry cube. Every grain, every pickle, every drop of dashi in this house is made by hand. And by the end of today, you'll understand exactly what that costs one woman to pull off every single day for the rest of her life. The kitchen light comes on at 4:40 in the morning. The house is still dark, 13 kids and 2 parents asleep under one roof, and the mother is already at the sink, running her hands under water cold enough to wake her the rest of the way. She fills the rice cooker, except calling it a rice cooker undersells it. It's a commercial-grade steamer, the kind you'd expect in a ramen shop's back kitchen, because a normal 10-cup cooker would need to run 4 separate cycles just to feed breakfast. She fills it once. 8 kilograms of rice, rinsed by hand until the water runs from milky white to almost clear, because that's the difference between rice that tastes clean and rice that tastes like starch. While it steams, she starts the dashi. Kombu goes into cold water first and sits, patient, pulling flavor out slowly. And only once it's near boiling does she pull it and drop in the bonito flakes, off heat, letting them settle to the bottom before straining. This stock is the base of almost everything that happens in this kitchen for the next 16 hours. The miso soup, the simmered vegetables, the sauce under the fish. And she makes it from nothing but seaweed, dried fish shavings and water. If she wants dashi, she makes dashi, the same way her mother did and her grandmother did before that. Say you're the second oldest, 16, and your job this week is the futons. You come down the stairs into a kitchen already thick with steam and the smell of kombu. And before you've said a word, your hands are folding bedding into the closet because the low tables need clearing before anyone can eat. Nobody tells you twice. There's a schedule taped inside a cabinet door, 13 names, 13 jobs, rotated weekly. And you learned years ago that falling behind on your one task means somebody else has to carry 2. By 5:30, the smell has started climbing the stairs, and this is where you'd expect a normal household to come stumbling down half asleep. Instead, someone is already slicing the tamagoyaki once it's cooled enough to cut clean. Someone is setting 15 sets of chopsticks in a straight line. Someone is folding the last futon. The mother isn't managing 13 children so much as running a kitchen with 13 rotating staff who also happen to be hers. The math starts to get uncomfortable here, so let's just say it plainly. 15 people eating 3 meals a day is 45 plates minimum, and that's before anyone asks for seconds, which, in a house full of teenagers, they always do. A single week of groceries for this family would strip a normal supermarket shelf bare of vegetables. But there is no normal grocery trip here. Behind the house sits a garden the size of a small parking lot. Daikon radish, napa cabbage, sweet potatoes, green onions in long rows, and in the fall, persimmons hanging heavy enough to bow the branches. What doesn't grow here gets bought in bulk from a farmer 20 minutes away. Sacks of rice stacked in a converted storage room like a small warehouse. There is no quick run to the konbini for anything. If it isn't in the garden or the storage room, it doesn't go in the pot tonight. You start to notice, watching a day unfold in this house, that nothing is wasted and nothing is convenient. Even the miso, the paste that goes into the soup every single morning, was made in this kitchen the previous winter. Soybeans boiled soft, mashed by hand, mixed with koji and salt, then packed into barrels and left to ferment in a cool corner of the house for 8 months before anyone touches it. She makes 40 kilograms of it at a time. It has to last the year, and if she miscalculates, there's no store run to fix it in March. Lunch is where the schedule tightens into something closer to a factory line. Not every kid here goes to a school that provides lunch, so the younger ones carry bento boxes from home, and the mother would rather pack them herself than trust anything wrapped in plastic from a shelf. 7 lunches, assembled in under 30 minutes, each one a small architecture of rice, a folded omelette, a pickled plum pressed into the center, a few blanched greens arranged so tightly there's no gap for the food to shift on the walk to school. Her hands move without watching what they're doing. She's packed some version of this exact box roughly 4,000 times. There's warmth in it too, not just labor. One of the younger boys likes his rice shaped into a rabbit, ears and all, and she still does it most mornings, even at 5:45, even running behind. It costs her 90 seconds she doesn't really have. She does it anyway. Then, an hour later, she's elbow deep in a sink of chicken bones for tonight's stock, and the softness of the rabbit rice and the grind of that sink sit right next to each other in the same 45 minutes. That's the actual shape of the day here. Warm, then hard, then warm again, over and over, until the lights go off. Cooking is only half of it. Somewhere in the middle of the morning, the washing machine runs its 3rd load already. 15 people generate laundry the way a small hotel does, and there's no dryer big enough to keep up, so the yard out back is strung with lines that stay full most days. Uniforms on one row, futon covers on another, socks pinned in long chains that flap in the wind like paper streamers. The father handles most of this, along with the trash sorting, which in Japan is its own small discipline. Burnable, non-burnable, cans, bottles, plastics, each in a separate bag on its own collection day. Get the sorting wrong, and the neighborhood collection point simply won't take it. There's no shortcut there either. Money is the other number nobody says out loud on camera, but everyone does the math on anyway. Rice alone runs close to 60 kilograms a month for this household. Add the garden's yield, the bulk vegetables, the meat, and a rough estimate lands somewhere near what a small restaurant spends feeding 40 covers a night. Except this restaurant never closes and never charges anyone at the table. The garden isn't a hobby that saves a little money on the side. It's load-bearing. Cut it out, and the grocery bill doesn't dip. It spikes. By early afternoon, the second wave starts, and this is the part almost nobody outside the house ever sees. Preserving. Whatever the garden produced that week that won't survive sitting around gets pickled, salted, or dried before it turns. Daikon goes into a crock with rice bran and salt and comes out weeks later as sukemono. Sharp and crunchy, the smell of it faintly sour and mineral even through a closed lid. Persimmons get peeled, tied in pairs by their stems, and hung under the eaves to dry into something dense and almost like candy, orange going to a deep amber over the weeks. This is food security for a household this size, because a single bad week at the market for a family this large is not a small inconvenience, it's a real problem. So she builds a buffer, jar by jar, months ahead of when she'll need it, and there's still no vending machine run to bail her out if she doesn't. You'd think with a house this size, someone else would be cooking too, and someone is. In pieces. The older teenagers chop vegetables, stir pots, watch rice so it doesn't scorch on the bottom. But the recipes, the seasoning, the decision about how much soy sauce goes into tonight's simmered pork, that still runs through one person. Ask any of the kids, and they'll tell you almost the same thing, word for word. Nothing tastes like it does when she makes it, even when they follow her exact steps. 30 years of doing this by feel, not by measuring cup, closes a gap teenagers with a recipe card can't. Say you're back at the sink again around 6, this time on dish duty. The sink never actually empties. A pot goes in, a pot comes out, there's another one waiting behind it, steam fogging the window over the counter. Your hands are pruning by 6:45. Cold water, hot pot, repeat. Somewhere behind you, your mother is already 3 steps ahead, seasoning the next pot before you finish the last. None of this repeats as often as you'd expect either. She keeps a rough mental rotation: curry one night, simmered fish another, a hot pot when the weather turns. So 13 kids don't burn out on the same 3 dishes by the second week of the month. Planning that rotation around whatever the garden happens to be producing that week, not around what's convenient to buy, is its own quiet skill. In July, it's eggplant and cucumber leaning hard. In November, it's daikon and cabbage carrying almost every meal. She doesn't complain about the seasonal limits. She just builds around them, the way a chef would. Except there's no walk-in fridge full of backup options if the plan doesn't work. Whatever's ready outside is dinner, full stop. Dinner is where the whole day converges, and it's also where the real number lives, the one that makes people stop scrolling. A pot of simmered chicken and daikon for this family uses close to 4 kilograms of chicken and a full bushel of vegetables in one batch. The rice pot empties and refills twice in a single meal. 15 bowls of miso soup get ladled out in under 2 minutes, an assembly line of hands passing bowls down the table before the first person has even picked up their chopsticks. From the first knife cut at 4:40 that morning to the last dish set down at dinner, she has been on her feet cooking for close to 14 hours. Not 14 hours of a job with breaks and a lunch hour. 14 hours where the only real pause is the walk between the stove and the sink. And here's the part that actually stops people. She has never, not once in over a decade of feeding this family, bought a single frozen meal. A boxed curry roux, an instant soup packet, or a bag of pre-cut vegetables. Every shortcut the modern kitchen was built around, she has quietly opted out of, on purpose, every day, for years. Ask her why, and she doesn't frame it as a sacrifice. She'll tell you, almost offhand, that she knows exactly what's in everything her children eat, down to which farm the daikon came from. And that once you've had dashi made from real kombu, the packet version just tastes like salt water. She's not avoiding the shortcuts for their sake. Skipping the shortcut is what makes the food taste like this. By 9 at night, the last dishes get stacked, and the kitchen goes quiet for the first time since before dawn. Tomorrow, the rice cooker fills again at 4:40. The dashi gets made from scratch again. Somewhere, in the pantry, a barrel of miso from last winter is still fermenting, quietly getting ready for a version of this exact day, months from now, that hasn't happened yet. Would you trade a normal week of takeout and grocery runs for a life that runs like this, every day, for 30 years? It's easy to say yes from a couch after watching this. It's a different answer entirely at hour 4 of standing over a stove that never really turns off. This family has been living inside that second answer for over a decade, and tomorrow at 4:40 they'll be living inside it again.